What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is Prime Day, and yes, a day where you can maybe find some deals. But today, what I'm going to be looking at with you guys is that really true? Can you actually find some good deals out there? And is it worth spending your money in a hurry on Prime Day? Let's go. Alrighty, guys, so as mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at Prime Day to see, is there really anything out there worth chasing after? Is it worth it for you guys to hurry up and spend your hard-earned cash on Prime Day? Or is it better to sit there and wait, or actually maybe do your due diligence? So today, what I'm going to be doing is basically just screen sharing with you guys like I do in my normal parts hunt videos, kind of in the same kind of scene or type format, but taking a look at some things on Amazon Prime. Specifically, we're going to be looking at things that more people would really be looking to get a good deal on, things that are more expensive like CPUs, GPUs, etc., and see what's really out there and show you guys how to either snipe a deal or come prepared with some information so that way you don't lose money. So let's get over to the screen and take a look at what we got. Okay, so first thing I thought I'd start with is something actually that I just used recently, an i5 12600KF that I remember, and I had to actually go back and look up, that I got for about $160 when I did a $700 build guide. By the way, go check out that video. And I just checked it out here on PC Part Picker, which is where I would say you should start. Start with PC Part Picker. Know what you're trying to get or trying to build with, and work your way from there. And this is, I'll show you exactly why. So over here on PC Part Picker, we actually have an Amazon price of $139, roughly $138.99. By the way, Newegg tends to match Amazon a lot of the time, and most of these other online retailers will as well. Prime Day tends to be a online sales day versus it being more Amazon driven. It's pretty smart for those online retailers to follow suit, otherwise they're going to lose a lot of sales. So Newegg is basically showing the same exact price, although what I noticed with Newegg is they'll tend to do promo codes or whatever, so their price, even though it says $139 on the total, it's actually $150-ish, almost $148. So $138, that's a pretty solid deal. That means that's about roughly 20-ish or more dollars down from what I bought it for originally like 2 months back. So let's go take a look at the part history. This is the big thing with PC Part Picker, is on trying to get an idea of where this part actually should be priced in the realm of the last 120 days, which I've got selected here. Now, one thing to note here is Amazon pricing does not show up on these graphs, which I wish it did, but I think probably the reason, I'm not sure entirely, is because Amazon has a lot of third-party sellers and they, drop shippers, etc. So the prices can vary a lot sometimes on Amazon. So I'm guessing that's why it's not here. However, this is what we got here on PC Part Picker. So taking a look at this part, we're looking at about around what I bought it for, around 155 to 150 average. And here's one thing to note, is a little bit of a price hike towards the beginning of July. So we are, actually it kind of remains the same. We'll see that trend more on other parts. But then as soon as Prime Day hits, we're looking at a drop here. And if we're referencing Newegg's price, because that's the only one that we really have to go on that's actually staying competitive with Amazon, at least on this part, at about $160 on July 3rd, and then dropping down actually even before Prime Day, and has been consistent since about July 7th all the way through till now. Let's take a look at the Amazon listing and see what we got. So right here up on the Amazon listing, we're showing $138. It's down 11% as they're claiming here. And originally, typical price, it's saying about $155, $150, $160. So we know that's pretty accurate because I recently just bought that CPU and I know exactly kind of what the price should be. So we're looking at about a $20 price drop on this CPU. Pretty darn good deal if you ask me. Now, is it a real deal? Or is it something that has been kind of toyed with due to Amazon Prime? Well, here's one thing you want to check too when you're on Amazon, is some parts will have a 90-day median price average, like I'm highlighting right now. This is based on a 90-day median price average. So Amazon's telling you up front, but they're not really showing you any kind of graphical data. Now, this is where you can take it a step further. And what I'd suggest you do, go get yourself Honey. It's a great extension that allows you to basically do a lot of price analytics and find, are you really getting that deal or not? So if we go to Honey and take a look at the history, and I'm gonna bring that up over here in another tab. So if I put in, actually, we were looking at 120 days on PC Part Picker, and take a look at the price average. So you can just drag your mouse across here and just see what all has gone on with the price of this part. But as we can see, the price trend is actually around the $150 to $160 mark. Looks like it might have been like $5 cheaper months back, but here is where Prime Day effect is taking effect. So right at like July 4th, we're still at the high July 6th, and then bam, down to Prime Day, $138. So this one I feel really confident to show you how you can trust kind of what the tools are on PC Part Picker and Honey, because I recently bought this part and I know exactly what I paid for it. So this is a solid deal. So if you're in the market for an i5 12600 KF, you can save yourself $20 right here and get that part. All right, so next thing I got up on my screen, since we had taken a look at a previous generation Intel chip, a comparable AMD chip would be the Ryzen 5 5700X, which we got here on screen, and wow, what a deal it looks like. So right off the rip, Amazon is showing this as coming in at $114. That's honestly insane. That's a fantastic price. So let's take a look at the price history again. I'm going to put in 120 days since we did that with the previous, and we can get a good idea. It does get a little muddy here in terms of the data, because we actually do have a couple other resellers that are showing up, even GameStop for weirdness sake. But what I tend to try to follow is Newegg. Newegg, like I said, stays pretty competitive with Amazon. And what I can see is this part has remained around, and there was some lows around, you know, the springtime, April, May, but then came back up later May and has kind of held true and steady at the around the $140 to $150 mark. It kind of came down a little bit here in June, but then kind of went back up in early July. So this is one thing I want to show you guys is we had a lower period between, let's see, looks like early June all the way till right before Prime Day. So early June was selling the part for around $140. And then early July, it came up to almost $160. Now we're basing that on Newegg. We're gonna go to Amazon and take a look, and right off the rip we can see that we're getting a 20% discount off the normal price. Again, if we mouse over the historical, at least what Amazon says, this is the median for the last 90 days, but what does Honey tell us? So coming here to the graph here, and pretty similar to what PC Part Picker was showing, at least for Newegg and some of the other sellers, is it was kind of around $135 to $140 mark. And then right before Prime Day, it did lower it down just a little bit to about $135 and stayed consistent all the way through, looks like late May, all the way through late June into early July. Here's our little tiny price hike that I mentioned before. Consider the real price to be around $135. Right at the early amount of July, bam, it went up $20. So $20, the only explanation I can give this is it inflates a little bit of the data when it comes to getting a percentage discount. So it kind of makes it more enticing to buy, as well as maybe some of these retailers are actually doing this to recoup some of the costs that they know that they basically have to give or should give. You know, they don't have to give the discounts, but some of these things that we're seeing with discounts, but recuperating some of the costs from the lower end. So it'd be really interesting to see come back in like August, September to see where this price goes back up, because I guarantee it will. So $155 at the high in early July, and then Prime Day comes along today and wham, down to $114. That looks like you're getting about a $40 discount, but not quite. You're actually getting about a $20 discount. So it's a solid discount. That's a heck of a price for that type of CPU. That's a heck of a performing CPU. But what I'm here to tell you guys is, what you guys will see over and over, is that Prime Day does a little bit of tricky things here. Like in a lot of the online retailers, as you can see, even Newegg did it, where they price hike up right before Prime Day and then they drop it. They drop it a little lower than the average median, and then lower it about $20 less. So it's not as seriously awesome of a deal as you might think it might be, but it's still, this one, pretty solid deal. I would definitely jump on something like this if you're looking to build kind of a entry to mid-tier system. So that's kind of mid-tier stuff. Let's take a look at what does about the same generation Ryzen 9 go for. In fact, let's go balls to the wall. Let's see what does a Ryzen 9 5950X go for right now on Prime Day. So this one just kind of blows my mind, because my system behind me actually is a Ryzen 9 5950X. I paid $1,000 back in the day for a 5950X. That was about 3.5 years ago or so. So now we've got a price of, coming in on PC Part Picker, of $292. Let's take a look then at the historical data and see where does the CPU really end up. As we've seen, we kind of have to, take it with a grain of salt. So in the early March days, it was going for, it looks like mid-March, it was, at least from Newegg price on PC Part Picker, we were going for about $400. So that's over $100 discount from there to here. But what is the median? So it looks like it actually kind of maintained that price all the way through, really all the way through. Now it looks like it came down about $40, $50 towards mid to late May. June had a little bit of a dip, and then it kind of went back up a little bit and kind of maintained again around the $350 mark up until later July or early July. And now we're seeing a dip, $324. But it's really hard to see some of this data. So let's go take a look at what we have on Amazon to see if there's anything different. Alrighty, so over on Amazon, we are showing the $292 price. We have a typical price, it says, over the last 90-day period of around $360. That's pretty consistent with what we saw on Part Picker, and a 20% discount. But does that remain true through history? So over here on honey, we are seeing pretty much a consistent price over the last 120 days, just like what we saw with Part Picker. But look at this. This is a huge price hike in early July, like huge, $50. And then it remains about that amount right before Prime Day hits. So Prime Day is listing $292 now, but not from, so what this does is it inflates the data for a few days, and that can start to cause a little bit of part median price changes, and where Amazon lists saying you're getting 20%, but really it's not 20%, you're probably getting more closer to like 15%. So as we can see through this graph, we can see that the average price pretty much for the last 120 days has been around $350 to $375. And then that price hike at the very early July era, where they can kind of inflate the price a little bit and then slam it down to $292 to show that it's got this really awesome, price percentage difference. So I think it's just tricky marketing things that they're doing right now. But the main thing here is I want you guys to know is to know how to find the real historical price. And although Amazon does say its typical price is around $362, that's pretty accurate. But I just want to kind of show you what happens, and hopefully you're never buying parts just a few days before Amazon Prime Day, because if you are, you might be running into this trend of hitting the parts at the highest possible price that they would be over the course of 120 days. All right, so that's previous generation stuff. Let's take a look at what's a current gen Ryzen 5 7600X go for, and is there any deals out there? Again, guys, too, like I mentioned, this is just, I'm using just arbitrarily grabbing parts and taking a look at them. There's probably maybe even better deals that I'm finding. I'm just kind of using the tools to show you guys how to find the actual good prices. This isn't a video about sniping the best deals possible. This is just about showing you the tools to make sure that you do get the best deals possible. So over here, Ryzen 5 7600X, current gen Ryzen, great processor, awesome for gaming, all that stuff, etc. Roughly $85. So down here to the part history again, and coming in looks like around, I'd say this is averaging around $200, $210 through the course of 120 days, and then wham, another price hike. But as we know, we don't have the data for Amazon on Part Picker, so let's go to Amazon. So Amazon is saying a 38% discount. 38. That if you were just to search up this part and be like, wow, 38% discount, that's amazing. I need to buy this now. And this is where you would be in trouble. So first thing here is to take a look at is the list price. Now, what's different here is Amazon, pay attention to this. Amazon is now showing that this is a retail list price of $300. So it's not doing a price average medium now anymore and showing you what the current price is based off the medium and what percentage it is now as it sits in its current state. So $185 is 38% off the listed retail price of $300. So what does that mean? Are we getting a deal at all on Amazon at this point? So let's take a look. As we can see, this is very, very, very flatlined. Basically, the average on Amazon has been around 200 up into early May and kind of remained that all the way up until July. Now, here's what's interesting. In early July, this part actually took a price dip, which is interesting, right? It went down to 170. So off the original, what we were saying our averages through June was roughly almost about $200. And then the first dip here is July 8th down to 171. and then we carry that all the way up to Prime Day, $184. So we could actually buy the CPU roughly $15 cheaper about 6 to 7 days ago. When we go back to the original listings showing a 38% discount, we're actually paying more than we could have paid 7 days ago, roughly. So this is not a good deal. And this is what I want to show you guys, is where you can find these kind of niche small deals where, you know, we got $20, $30 off the Intel chip, $20, $30 off the Ryzen chip. Those were, I mean, not mind-blowing deals, are good deals. You're never going to probably find those parts at that price again, but where you will find this Ryzen 5 7600X probably at a lower price, maybe after Prime Day. I don't know, but definitely don't read into what you see immediately. Use your tools. All right, so last thing I want to take a look at is, let's just see what a graphics card looks like, because that is your biggest investment in building a PC. I'm not going to look at all the GPUs, but I kind of thought, well, let's just take it like a middle ground, kind of mid-tier range card, and look at like a RTX 4070. So I've got this RTX 4070 up on PC Part Picker. This is a Zotac twin edge, you know, whatever, decent middle ground video card, and its listing price on Amazon from PC Part Picker is $559. We scroll on down to the data over the last 120 days, and it looks like it was a little bit low in March, at least if we're referencing Newegg data, and kind of remained at pretty stagnant $550 to $560 all the way up to Prime Day. And Amazon is showing $559 off original, remember, list price of $629. So if I hover my mouse over that again, we're seeing that this is not a average price percentage listing. This was basically just a retail price of $630. Now Amazon's listing at $559. So you got an 11% discount, right? Not quite. So let's go back to Honey. Is showing that this part actually in its lowest was earlier in March at $539, and then this massive price hike happened, drove it all the way up to like $650, roughly $645. So that's a bit of an anomaly that happened between, you know, in the early to late, or mid to late days of April, but then completely stabilized and has been flat for months at $559. So if we go back to the listing and it's Prime Day and blah 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 blah, and you know, you're getting all this hype of I'm searching for parts, and you see this listed at 11% discount, don't jump right into that, because you're basically paying the same price it's been for the last 4 months, and you're not getting any kind of benefit here. Now the difference here I want to point out too is, if we go back to some of the parts here listed, Prime Day deal. So I want to go back to my Intel chip. That's the other thing too, is don't immediately jump on parts that you think you're getting a deal on. So like with those two last parts, the CPU and the GPU, they looked like they're discounts, but they weren't Prime Day deals. So some things are not listed as Prime Day deals, like this Intel i5 12600K, where it'll say in bold red letters Prime Day deals. So that means it's been undercut a little more, so that these newer parts probably aren't going to be the same thing. Even though you get carried away into shopping in Prime Day and you're like, oh wow, you know, I got this Ryzen 5 5600X for $114, and I want to pair it with some GPU, and this 4070 is going for 11% under, I'm really saving money. No, you're not actually, because, well, you save money on the chip, but not on the GPU. So long story short, guys, basically what I want to point out is, when you're Amazon Prime deal hunting, first, obviously look for a listing that says Prime Day, and it's exclusive to Prime Day deals, because some stuff is not, and then do your price checking history. As we saw with the ones that even are listed as Prime Day deals, they'll ride a lower price for a little while and then price hike up and then kind of come underneath, but probably are going to normalize again about at that normal price. So you're not really getting a super lucrative deal, but you are getting somewhat of a decent deal. And I'd have to say, based on that i5 and that Ryzen 5, those are pretty good deals. And like I said, probably won't find those deals or those parts at that price probably ever again, or until next Prime Day. But some of that stuff's old and may not even be around anymore for next year's Prime Day. Anywho, guys, I just want to make a quick video for you guys to make sure you're doing your due diligence to be checking those price histories, because that is the biggest thing when it comes to online rush buy deal days like Prime Day and Black Friday. You run into these deals where you think you're getting deals, but you know, you really want to make sure you're doing your due diligence. So anywho guys, I hope you guys found this video informative. Happy Prime Day. Yes, there are some decent deals out there for you to snipe. Make sure you do your due diligence, use the tools that I showed you, and get those deals locked in, and I think you'll have a pretty solid PC on your way. Thanks for tuning into this one though, guys. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you in the next one.